With Grazel from GGPA one more time, and today we're talking about power imbalances in relationships, and specifically, we're going to be talking about when a relationship starts to feel one-sided or starts to feel like outright unsafe. So, Grazel, when that happens, when a relationship starts to feel unsafe or one-sided, what's usually happening under the surface from a clinical perspective?
It's that they can't trust their partner's ability to be there for them and create safety for them when they're being vulnerable. There's usually a pattern of misunderstandings, not feeling seen, not feeling heard, feeling attacked, feeling criticized, feeling less than.
Mm-hmm.
Those are usually the main kind of behavioral moves that each partner do when they're not feeling safe in the relationship.
Yeah, and that's on the side of the partner that feels unsafe, I guess. Is there
Yes.
anything that you typically see on the other side that would indicate there's unsafety in the relationship?
Yeah, I think if the other partner is not the partner that criticizes and blames, you're going to be able to tell that they're feeling unsafe when they're not engaged in
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability with their partner. So that could look like emotional withdrawal, silence, lack of engagement, maybe short answers, people pleasing, placating. Um, Yeah, I think those are more of the behaviors that's gonna
Yeah,
exist on the other side.
yeah, and I guess any combination of these things can factor in, and then when you see those in the room, you're starting to think, okay, this we've got some work to do here. Um, how do boundary violations factor in there? You know, if you've got a chronic issue with someone violating someone else's boundary, how does that affect trust? How does it affect the emotional stability of the relationship over time?
hmm hmm I think the word violation is a little bit bigger. Maybe, we can start small where if the boundaries aren't heard and followed and met, that can create a level of emotional disconnection.
Mm-hmm.
When we use the word violation, I feel like that's a little bit deeper. Continuous violation of one's needs can feel very toxic and can feel somewhat abusive, especially if there's power that's being maintained by one partner over the other. Um, and when I talk about that type of power, it's no longer setting healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. So I think it's really important first to kind of know what does violation means to me, and is violation actually what's happening here, or is my partner just not hearing what my boundaries are? I think it's also really good to assess whether you know what your boundaries are and whether you're approaching it in a way that's going to be heard. Because sometimes we say our boundaries in a way that sounds demanding, and that's never going to land well. So, and if you're expecting that to land well, then you don't really have good data in understanding whether your needs are going to be met. So you have to be very careful in approaching how to set boundaries.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right talking about the use of language, and if you're calling something a violation, if it's not a violation, that's not a good approach. That it's important that we're accurate with our terms so that we can communicate
hmm
effectively, right? Um, so we talked about kind of power imbalances a little bit. Why does traditional couples therapy struggle when there's a significant imbalance of maybe accountability on one side or empathy or something along those lines?
Um, it could be because of the couple, but mainly I think it's also, well-intentioned couples therapists that are helping couples, but they don't have training and understanding how to balance the equality in a relationship. Because each partner that comes into couples therapy will have imbalances. So if one person is accounting more and being responsible for their behavior and the other is not, that's sometimes that's normal, until they find their own balance. But if the couples therapist is not trained to do that, then couples therapy sometimes will not work because the couples therapist may be biased in siding over one partner than the other.
Yeah. And as these dynamics kind of go on, it's easy to see how relationships can come to an end. But I guess sometimes if you address them early enough in couples therapy, restoration is possible. So how do the individuals in those kind of situations actually start to build self trust and self image again after they've had that destabilizing dynamic?
I think it's really important to understand how they're fighting and what coping behaviors that are maladaptive for them that's fueling the cycle. The important part of de-escalation is understanding how you protect yourself. And like earlier in one of our interviews, I said it's really important for each partner to know how they're regulating their emotion because if they don't know, they're not going to be able to find repair with them themselves, and it's not
Mm.
going to extend to the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And having that internal compass is just so important for yourself, but also for any relationships you have now or in the future or anything. So yeah, thank you again so much for your time. It's always a delight to talk to you, and we will definitely speak again soon.
Thanks, Scott. Same. Thank you.